What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09.
I don't post pictures after a pump. Not all the time. All them videos of y'all favorite bodybuilders, they only post after they got that pump. See what they look like flat. Probably like a lot of shit. It's game time, I can't wait. Can't fucking wait. This year, not my year. Next year, coming for it all. I feel sorry for everybody.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to EP09 Bodybuilding. We're going to start this one off today with an update from Tonio Burton. And some very strong words from Tonio here. Of course, Tonio taking 8th place at the 2023 Olympia, decided to sit out 2024 in order for him to take some time off and put on the necessary size where he feels like he'll be able to get into that first call-out situation at the Olympia. Now, I was actually speaking with Tonio, and he's currently sitting at 254 pounds, so he's actually trying to get back to where he was around about 260. Not something that Tonio's spoken about publicly, but he was actually in a motorcycle accident. You can see the bandage that's actually on his arm there. So trying to come back from that and put on some more size again. And I gotta say, the size, I think, is coming for Tonio Burton. It looks like it's really starting to stick to the point where you can see he is getting noticeably bigger. He's always had those very round shoulders, very proportionate arms, but I think Tonio does look wider across the shoulders. I think he looks bigger in that front double bicep, and I think that the chest has come up in size as well. He's also maintaining that midsection, which is absolutely key for anyone looking to make a splash in bodybuilding these days, especially trying to get in that first call-out at the Olympia. So Tonio really looking to make some noise in 2025 and very confident about his return to the bodybuilding stage here. And, you know, he is famed as being someone so shapely and with so much potential to make it into that first call-out. The only thing that he's really ever lacked was the amount of size, really, in order to get in that kind of situation. And we have seen this work for guys like Andrew Jack, who put on more size. You know, we'll talk about Andrew here shortly. Took some time off, ended up coming back looking substantially improved, and did maintain his 5th place spot in the Olympia, of course. So the question is, has Tonio put on enough size as of yet in order to make it into that first call-out at the Olympia? And like I said, I do think that he looks bigger. You can see the quads here as well. Always a strong point for Tonio. Very, very round quads. Great detail in those quads when he does get shredded as well. But I do think that he still needs more size in order to really make it into that first call-out. I mean, look at who we had in the first call-out at the Olympia this year. You know, even look as far as 4th place being Martin Fitzwater. You know, huge. Looks absolutely massive. For Tonio to stand next to a guy like that, I do think that he's going to need more size. However, he is going to be able to rely on his shape to a degree in order for him to help get there. I'm not saying he has to be as big, but I do think that he needs more size than what we're seeing here. Now, he also does have plenty of time to get into a situation where maybe he's competing in the second half of the bodybuilding season in order to qualify for the Olympia. Call it another 8 to 10 pounds, I guess, of stage weight from where he was previously. And I think that he could end up in that situation where we may be able to see him on stage in that first call-out at the Olympia. Now, we also don't know what kind of improvements everybody else is going to make. He'll have to take that into consideration. But we will see Tonio Burton on stage in 2025. I do expect to see an improved version of Tonio Burton, and then we can have the conversation of where we may see him land on that Olympia stage. All right, we've got an update here from our current Mr. Olympia, Samson Dauda, who's basically been on tour since the minute that he walked off the bodybuilding stage taking his first Olympia victory. Samson actually just returning from China, which is not somewhere well known on a global scale for being, you know, a bodybuilding stronghold with a lot of fans, a lot of appeal there. You don't really see it a lot in China. So the fact that he actually went there first after the Olympia, as well as here doing a guest posing at the Box Cross boxing gym in the UK. You know, these are not places that you would expect our current Mr. Olympia to really go. after just taking his victory. So I actually really like this. Samson is bringing bodybuilding to a little bit of a different audience here. Now keep in mind, guys, we're about 17 weeks out from the Arnold Classic Ohio, where we will see Samson Dauda step back on stage to actually compete with Andrew Jack. We'll get to Andrew here in a minute. And Samson does look like he's still in very good condition. You know, he is back in the UK now, so presumably he will be getting ready for the Arnold from here on out. And Samson is someone who's known to get better after doing multiple shows. Now, this time it might be a little bit different because there's so much time between the Olympia and the Arnold Ohio. You know, we see Samson do shows back to back to back in recent past. Ultimately, do I think that's going to affect his overall look? I don't think so, especially given the fact that he is now the current Mr. Olympia. I mean, if that's not momentum, I don't know what is. If that's not going to have a guy fired up to get on that next stage, especially the Arnold Classic Ohio stage, I don't know what else will. Now, as for improvements for Samson Dauda between what we saw at the Olympia and what he could bring to the Arnold Classic Ohio stage, really it's just conditioning, I think, especially in the lower body from the back. If we were to see a better level of conditioning from Samson there, then that would be an improved version of Samson as compared to what we saw at the Olympia. Do I think that we will see that? I actually do. You know, that's really the only thing that Samson needs to do is work on conditioning here. And especially given the fact that Samson will have an amount of rest that he'll be able to take between now and the Arnold Classic, I do think that we will see an improved version of Samson Dauda on that stage. And I'm going to make an early prediction now. I do think that Samson Dauda will take home his second Arnold Classic title. But just the fact that we're going to see Samson on stage, you know, our current Mr. Olympia taking the stage. It's certainly not unheard of for Olympia champions to compete at the Arnold Classic, but you know, in this modern era of bodybuilding, typically your Mr. Olympia doesn't step on stage for anything but to defend their title that following year. So in this case here, actually seeing our current Mr. Olympia step on stage to compete, I think is exactly what will continue to push the sport of bodybuilding to new heights. So, although Samson does love to compete, he's doing even more for the sport of bodybuilding than I think he even realizes. All right, last up, another bodybuilder that we will see on that Arnold Ohio stage. Actually, after dropping out of the Arnold last year, Andrew Jack, coming back to stand next to our current Mr. Olympia, Samson Dauda. Andrew just finishing up a tour in the UK with Giles Tiger Thomas, and here, Andrew actually guest posing at the Elite Muscle Classic, which is in Greensboro, North Carolina. So Andrew actually currently in the United States, which I expected him to go back to Dubai and train at the Venus gym to get ready for this upcoming Arnold Classic. It may be possible that Andrew will remain in the United States to train with Psycho Lewis for the entirety of his Arnold Classic prep. Now, there's no confirmation on that whatsoever, but the fact that Andrew is in the States now, and if he was to do an entire prep with Psycho Lewis being a full 16 weeks, I really wonder if that would make the difference in him having a better physique when it comes to stepping on that stage. And of course, the Arnold Classic, somewhere that we've seen Andrew traditionally shown up very, very well conditioned. In fact, they played the conditioning game last time Andrew stepped on that stage. May have looked a little bit small. Well, he definitely looked a little bit small. But with the added size here now, I do think that they're going to try to play the conditioning game here because Andrew really lacked fullness at the Olympia. He didn't have that usual pop to his physique. Now, to go up against Samson Dauda, who we can assume is going to look definitely bursting full, I think that's something that Andrew's going to have to do when it comes to standing next to Samson. But with the added fullness, if Andrew can accomplish that, as well as having that conditioned look, you know, similar to the Texas Pro 2024, I think that was Andrew's best look to date. Even if he can replicate that, will that be enough to defeat our current Mr. Olympia? You know, it's a really good question. Part of me thinks that Andrew still needs a little bit more size in order to really hang with Samson, because especially when I started seeing some of the comparisons come out with Samson versus guys like even Ronnie Coleman in his prime, Phil Heath in his prime, Mark's Max Muscle doing a lot of those videos. Shout out to Mark. I think that Samson is actually bigger than what most people consider. And it may be difficult to really notice that because Samson was standing next to some shorter guys on stage this year, but Samson is absolutely massive. So I do think that maybe Andrew will need a little bit more size. However, some may argue that Andrew is a little bit more shapely than Samson. So I do think that there could be a formula here where Andrew may be able to defeat Samson Dauda, but the question is going to be, will Andrew be able to bring that balance between fullness and conditioning to defeat our current Mr. Olympia? You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, quick note before I wrap up, you guys, I will be doing an interview here soon with Charles Griffin talking about his upcoming retirement here. Really looking forward to that conversation with Charles. I'll have Mark's Max Muscle joining me on there. We'll see who else I might invite to join us on that conversation. But I'm going to wrap up the video right here. Thank you for tuning into EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.